Spags, everyone is sharing their Spotify Wrapped, but what about your fantasy Wrapped? It's time to take a stroll through our 2022 fantasy season.
It will be pride-inducing or shame-inducing. We're going to find out because Pete and I are doing our fantasy football on wraps. Of course, we're also going to catch up on Week 13 news. Lots of injuries to dig into. Some good news, some bad news out there. Of course, Underdog Battle Royale season is still upon us, so we'll hit one of those. And perhaps the last ride or die picks before Pete enters the world of fatherhood and everything changes right before your eyes. Let's talk about it right after this intro. Oh, there we go. The short intro. We don't lose anybody. That's the goal here. Welcome to Splash Play, of course, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my friend Pete Overzet. Pete, how are you feeling? We were talking about it before the show, but you are literally going to have a baby any minute now. So anxiety levels, stress levels, excitement levels, where's it all at?
Very excited. I don't have much anxiety. Maybe that's the naivete there. And it's more just, it's weird. It's like, oh, it's Friday, but it does not feel like a normal Friday to me. So I'm just going to keep doing everything as I would normally do, knowing that I could get ejected from it at a moment's notice.
Yeah, that's the joy of parenting that I'm sure many of you guys know out there. But let's talk about Week 13. Of course, that's upon us right now. Lots of players out there are going to be banged up. And here's a list that I saw on Twitter right before the show that not all these guys are going to be an actual issue, but it is a lot of star players dealing with injuries. Honestly, earlier than it feels like normally, where some of these guys might get held out. But Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, we got Lenny, we got Dylan and AJ and Aaron Jones as well injured. Michael Carter, Antonio Gibson, the Steelers running backs, Debo, Jamar, Brandon Cooks, David Njoku. Pete, out of all these injuries, which of course you lovingly write up every day in the Fantasy Life newsletter, which one is concerning you the most? And are there any that you're not concerned about at all? I feel like McCaffrey is one that you probably shouldn't have much concern about.
Yeah, there was a brief scare yesterday with McCaffrey, but then there was the quotes that he dodged a bullet and was going to be fine. I still think there's a ton of opportunity in that backfield because one, someone other than CMC is going to get touches. And then on top of that, you now have just the massive contingent upside. If CMC's knee injury flared up, if he got re-injured, I mean, one of TDP, Jordan Mason, and Tevin Coleman is going to get work right away. And one of those guys, if not two, could be like a league winner if something happened to CMC. So I'm still keeping tabs on that one.
Yeah, Eli Mitchell going to be out for a while. So Jordan Mason, I saw some positive quotes that Pete posted in the Fantasy Life newsletter as well. Jimmy Garoppolo talking about him delivering body blows, which you always love to hear about running backs over the course of time, establishing the run for Jordan Mason. But if you had to pick, Pete, who gets more touches, TDP, Tyrion Davis-Price, or Jordan Mason on Sunday?
I still think TDP because I think they think of him more in that Eli Mitchell, Jeff Wilson kind of bruiser mold, whereas Jordan Mason was used a little bit more on passing downs. And so I assume that with CMC, that kind of pushes Jordan Mason. Although Jimmy G then saying Jordan Mason's the one delivering body blows, who the fuck knows? But I do prefer TDP slightly there. They were using him ahead of Jordan Mason earlier in the season. So just kind of leaning on that.
Do you have any concern that Josh Jacobs doesn't go, by the way? Because that's the one thing where he has a calf issue. I haven't checked his practice status, so that's something that might be a blind spot.
He's been limited every day.
Oh, is he? Okay, fuck. Well, I was hoping to be Zamir White season. I need some Zamir White down the home stretch, given that was the bet, Pete, was that Josh Jacobs wouldn't get all the run, and now he's going to be the chalk play of the week. And I got to say, it feels like running into a buzzsaw if you're going to have 25%, 30% own Josh Jacobs this week.
Yeah, that one's going to be a real interesting one because I do think, the whole reason he was sub 5% last week wasn't because he wasn't a good play. It was because he popped up on the injury report late and then had the Q tag and everyone was spooked off of that. So now this week, he's still going to be in the same spot, limited practices, Q tag with this calf injury, but he's also coming off of a 50-point game. And so no one gives a shit and they're going to jam him. So yeah, I still think there's like a small chance that he misses. Like I made some big bids for Zamir White in my leagues where I'm still alive, just being like, I'll just toss Zamir White back if Jacobs goes, but I think the role would be pretty juicy if he didn't.
We also have to give a shout out to our guy, OG Mans fan in the chat. He's in San Diego right now for King of the Beach, Pete, which is one of those big tournaments going on DraftKings which I feel like everybody got in there somehow through the qualifiers, except like us. A lot of people, but not me, of course. But proud of Jason to see him do well. But did you try to go to the King of the Beach? I feel like I missed a memo from everybody else out there.
Here's the thing. I know because of Jason and some people who were chasing those cues, honestly, I lucked into good game selection in that I always forget about the cues. Like when I go and register for my contest on DraftKings, I swear to God, if I would remember, I would have blasted off at them too and lost because I didn't have any lineups good enough to win the regular tournaments, much less the cues. But I've always wanted, like, that is, if you're going to, punt money off in DFS, it is pretty fun to chase those cues.
Yeah, so good luck, Jason. Good luck if we somehow have anybody else out there going to King of the Beach. But we're rooting for Jason because Jason, people may not know out there, the guy who won our first ever Splash Play giveaway for a very esoteric prize, the Arnie Weinmeister card that when we stopped doing things like that, Pete, for some reason. I don't know why we stopped investing in Arnie Weinmeister cards for the sake of our audience.
We were trying to find our footing, and that level of effort is just out of reach of our capabilities right now.
Speaking of level of effort, we're going to pull up a Google Doc right now, and we're going to talk about our Spotify Wrapped. Actually, I should do the intro that I want to do, Pete, for this one. Pete, have you heard of this Spotify Wrapped thing people are talking about these days?
Man, I log on to social media, Spags. I can tell you what, I'm seeing this Spotify Wrapped left and right. I don't know what this is.
Well, the Spotify Wrapped, Pete, apparently very popular with the kids these days. They love sharing their music. They love talking about the things that are popping up on their feeds time and time again. Some people like to see them on the Instagram stories. Some people hate it. I think there's a lot of people very vocal about it either way. For fantasy football, we don't talk enough about our teams, Pete. So we're going to answer some of the tough questions today for our fantasy football Spotify Unwrapped. And let's start it off. Which player did you draft the most, Peter Overzet, in 2022 Best Ball?
Yeah. So do you want to do it by number of times or by entry fee? Because that is the one thing that can switch things up a little bit. Although some of the high dollar ones skew it. Let's just do drafted percentage. So I'm so embarrassed to read my top one. My top one was fucking Eno Benjamin, running back for the Houston Texans. Number 2 was Treylon Burks, who I spent the most money on in drafts, according to my underdog here.
So for me, my number one is actually pretty clear across the board on both DraftKings and Underdog. It's a guy that might not play this week, though hopefully he will. Has not been good. Has not really had a ceiling game once this year. I guess maybe one game in Mexico. Deebo Samuel is mine. I have a lot of Deebo, a lot of him stacked up with Trey Lance. That's gone really well. But that's the play for me, Pete, that I don't know how he hasn't hit at all, but Deebo is arguably the worst play who's actually a good player in fantasy football. And I've got him over $1,000 in pretty much every lineup.
Yeah, that's definitely one of many misses I had this year, was taking a ton of Deebo and T Higgins at the 2-3 turn. Also took AJ Brown, which is working out decently well. But the huge opportunity cost there, Spags, is we were often passing on Tyreek Hill to take Deebo Samuel or T Higgins. And the swing from those guys to Tyreek Hill is just absolutely massive. I was even looking at T Higgins the other day, because we had invested in him in a lot of our FFPC leagues too. In weeks 5 through 10, he was basically just a below level replacement player. He was putting up like 11 to 12 point games, just like creating your lineup from a round 2 draft cost perspective. And it doesn't mean that he can't still have spike weeks. Same with Deebo Samuel. Like, I think we get an uptick in carries from Deebo Samuel here down the stretch without Eli Mitchell. And yet, man, not having more Tyreek Hill in that range is brutal.
Yeah, I've got both Deebo and Higgins everywhere, and not nearly enough Tyreek. I think I'm with the 8% that you'd expect of the field, but boy, would have been nice to have a little more than that. But Pete, who have you played the most of DFS so far this year? And obviously, this is one where it's less binary. You can't just pull it up on DraftKings and find it out right away. But who would you feel like gut instinct? Who have you played more than anybody else?
I think of everyone, there is an obvious answer for me because I've played him as a punt play wide receiver probably 4 weeks, multiple times in Showdown. Tyquan Thornton, I've been chasing that ghost. I do think it's more than just anecdotal too. I think if we ran the analytics, you would see Tyquan Thornton in an outsized amount of my lineups.
Mine is much less shameful. Mine is actually Tyreek Hill. I've been on the Tyreek train pretty early, gone down with that ship a couple times. The Skylar Thompson, Teddy Bridgewater game is one that was not proud for me, especially in Underdog Battle Royales. But I feel like that's the one thing that I recognize was that I didn't get enough of this guy in best ball. I kind of was buying into some of the team movement stuff along with the age stuff and the fact that he's just not going to have Mahomes throwing to him. So I've been overcompensating by playing Tyreek every week, and he fits the air yard stuff. He fits the game script stuff, pass rate over expectation. So I don't feel ashamed of my DFS play, even if it's resulted in a positive season, Pete, but it hasn't been an outlier thing every single time. Like we've seen Tyreek have 15-point games and be kind of a non-factor some weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you could do worse than jamming Tyreek Hill. GA mentioning Mariota. I think I played Thornton more, but Mariota definitely the quarterback I have used the most because
But
I'm a
honestly, I have
masochist.
played a lot of Mariota too, and like the Kyle Pitts, Drake London thing. Rest in peace, Kyle Pitts, of course. So we'll never forget you. But the Kyle Pitts, Drake London double sacks with Mariota, boy, those never had a shot in hell in hitting.
Yeah, but the projection said they did, and boy, did we trust the projections.
Yeah, the middle outcome apparently was a little bit too high for some people. Which player are you most ashamed of investing in heavily? This could be a lot of different guys. I'm sure this one for Historical Anomaly is saying it would be Drew Lock for me. I don't feel any shame for Drew Lock. The thesis of the play was correct. You've seen Gino have the great year. Drew Lock could still be out there in week 17. We don't know. But Pete, for you, who are you most ashamed of drafting the most heavily in?
Yeah, I think, man, it's tough because I don't count like Trey Lance, like a guy gets hurt, I don't feel ashamed.
Mhm.
Even my KJ Hamler and Eno Benjamin, who are last round picks, I don't necessarily feel ashamed. So I need to find who is the guy I actually feel. I'm trying to be very honest with myself about who I feel shame. You know what? How about this one? I still have way too much fucking Will Fuller when the writing was on the wall that this dude was just done with football. And like, I still think at every point that you were drafting him, there's a percentage chance that he comes back and contributes to your team. But that percentage just dropped every single week. And you just kept martingaling him. And I don't know how I got sold this bill of goods by Will Fuller, but boy, did I fall for it, hook, line, and sinker.
The Will Fuller stuff, the Julio Jones stuff that I feel like people were talking about drafting those guys and hoping they bubble up was something that I got the logic of, but didn't buy in on very much. So I don't feel much shame for that one. There's a lot of guys I could throw in here. I feel like KJ Hamler, Pete, would be one for both of us too that I'm not going to put on here, but I think KJ Hamler is a deep shame point.
Yeah, it's tough because I guess I'm trying to think of cost too. I guess Will Fuller is cheap. I mean, Will Fuller, the Hamler thing was like one, the team was just dust, right? So even if he was healthy, I think he probably had what contributed to our lineups once or twice. Like he would have gotten loose for the Kendall Hinton bomb a couple times if he was healthy. But just any investment in the Broncos is
Mhm.
shameful. And the fact that one of our most frequented late round picks happened to be on a historically bad offense is something, yeah, we should feel shame for.
Yeah. All right. So the guy that I'm going to throw into the mix, Naheem
Ooh.
Hines. I ended up with over $1,000 invested in Naheem Hines this year. And it's one of those plays that I thought made sense on paper. How does Jonathan Taylor not get there? Naheem Hines getting some work, getting some pass game touchdowns, getting all that. He gets traded to the Bills, ends up being a non-factor there too. James Cook is the feature back apparently now for the Bills based on what we saw yesterday. And Naheem Hines was involved, but certainly not doing much. I don't know how this ended up happening for me, Pete, but I spent a lot of money on Naheem Hines and I don't even like him that much. I just thought it was like one of those plays. I was like, oh, if this happens, this happens. And I think that's one of the things for next year that I'm going to try really hard to not repeat that mistake of. But the Galaxy Brain plays, or even not even Galaxy Brain, just like the binary play that just doesn't work out, investing that heavily in it was like a huge shameful mistake for me.
Well, in my equivalent to you with Naheem Hines is probably Kenneth Gainwell. And it dovetails with a point, which is, again, just shows how fucking chaotic and unpredictable fantasy football is, in that this has been a banner year for zero RB. So many of these late guys smashing. And yet the archetype of the pass catching back, who has been a staple of zero RB portfolios, is essentially dead. The Naheem Hines, the Kenneth Gainwells, JD McKissick is hurt, but all of these backs that we drafted to give us like certain floor production, waiting for the chaos to kick in and your Kenneth Walkers to take over, like that thesis has not borne out in any way. These guys have been total flops. There's no like floor pass catching backs that you're really using week to week right now.
Some good ones in the chat too. Deontay Johnson, I feel like
Ooh.
he's not so much a shame, like overdrafted relative to what he's done, but like the usage has been there. He just hasn't been that good, and Pickett hasn't quite gotten there. But the irony is, like, I think Deontay Johnson could hit against Atlanta this week.
Well, Deontay Johnson, we had heavy exposure to him in FFPC, and I feel so much fucking shame on that one too. That one was gross. And also it was like there was the moment too at the end of drafting season where George Pickens was screaming up draft boards and Deontay Johnson was slipping a little bit. And you're like, oh, this Pickens buzz is way too much. You know, Deontay Johnson is the best cost adjusted play in this offense right now. And it was like, nope, this guy misses Ben Roethlisberger so bad right now and has turned to dust. But yeah, it is an interesting matchup. You know, I'm gonna fucking roll out a Kenny Pickett team this week in DFS.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, he you might do it today if you're doing the show with Jam to win. I think you might get you talked into that one pretty fast.
I just got ahead of it and put George Pickens on the thumbnail. I knew where we were headed.
Michael Pittman for Dustin. I don't think that's a shame point at all. Pittman's actually had some usable weeks. Like there are guys that haven't had a single game that you could have in a best ball lineup. So I feel like Pittman to me, like I would have pride in Pittman at this point. He actually was good like within the last 10 days.
Well, think about here's one thing we were collectively right on as best ball bros talking about the cliff in the early third round as far as elite talent. Think about some of those third round picks: DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman. Like so many of those guys in the mid to late third have just been complete disasters.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Dustin saying Alec Pierce for me. The thesis of the play was right, and I'll stand by that one. Taking young guys, never going to be ashamed of that. Chris Evans' exposure is actually a good one because we are seeing Samaje Perine be like live right now to do some things. Like if Mixon goes out again this week, like Perine actually could be a guy that wins fantasy football season long leagues, wins in best ball. So I don't know how we all got talked to Chris Evans because I kind of felt that too, where I was like, Perine was the one they had going when it mattered in the Super Bowl, but nope, it's in fact Chris Evans. A lot of shame there.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't super heavy on Chris Evans, but I always understood the thesis of like he's more athletic and better pass catching back. And again, it goes with that thing again where we said if Samaje is probably more likely to be the pure handcuff, but if someone carves out a standalone role in that offense, it's probably Chris Evans. And the entire pass catching back thing has just completely died this season.
Good one for GA too. My shame is Moore's. Yeah, pretty much every player with the last name Moore has not worked out this year. So that's factually accurate. The worst name in football, some could say.
DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Rondell Moore, all complete busts. Even when Rondell Moore was starting to come on, then he gets hurt. It's just, what a disaster.
All right, here's the fun one, Pete. Hours spent drafting teams in 2022. And for what it's worth, Pete and I both did some actual math. I did very thorough math before the show to figure this one out, and I'll paste it in a moment. But Pete, if you had to give an estimate, how many hours have you spent drafting teams, building DFS teams, whatever the case may be, in 2022?
Yeah, so my Underdog account says I did 345 drafts, and I'm just going to use an average of 45 minutes for each of those drafts, which would put me at 11 days, almost 11 days of drafting. And the thing that's impressive about this is like, when you get your Spotify Wrapped, the amount of multitasking you can do while listening to music is like, you can basically do everything. Like it's not even, limiting your productivity in any way. Whereas drafting, sure, we could do Underdog Cardio Club. Sure, we could be streaming, but you have to pay some level of attention. Like you can't be even writing emails while you're drafting. So the fact that I spent 11 days of my life drafting, I don't know if that's impressive or sad or somewhere in between.
All right, so here was my math. And I said 50 minutes per draft, but I think, counting DraftKings, which had 2 more rounds, that seems about right. Oops, went to the wrong tab here. So we got 404 drafts on Underdog, 148 on DraftKings for me. Let me put that there. And then 50 minutes per draft. So that's 460 hours. You add in the DFS slates where I do, we had 12 weeks of football. I play 3 slates per week. I'll say 2 hours of time building lineups there. That's 72 hours. Pete, 22 days of my life have gone to fantasy football this year, and that is with a newborn. So sorry, Luca, those 22 days could have gone to loving you and raising you and all that. But instead, I've built some sick teams.
I don't even want to do the math on the DFS stuff too, because that one would be even more gross for me. Like, and I always reference it too on my Monday morning GPP streams. When I look back on the week and think about how much time was spent either updating spreadsheets, reading stuff, running optimals, practice builds, doing content around DFS, I literally I'll self-combust if I do that math.
If you were to put in consuming content, creating content, especially like if you guys have been watching the channel, but doing the short form stuff, which ironically takes way longer to do than a live stream, it would be gross. Like I think we would literally be like this year, we've spent 50% of our waking hours doing something fantasy football related.
How much, and this is obviously pertinent to me coming up, how much of your blasting off, because the real difference, you and I did, roughly the same amount on Underdog, but you pulled away with just a shit ton on DraftKings. How much of that was fueled by having a baby? Like how much of, hey, I'm just sitting here with this baby that can't really do anything, so I'm going to do a draft. Like if you have a toddler, do you think you get in this many drafts?
I would say probably not. A lot of the time was spent with like Luca's eating and like there's nothing you could do really. So I would do a draft then, or like Paul asking what I multi-table. Like that is something where I definitely multi-table a lot. I would usually do between 2 and 4 drafts at a time. So this isn't a pure calculation, but it's a good estimate. So I think, yeah, with a newborn, you could do a lot. Even now though, with like Luca starting to like move around, he isn't crawling yet, but he's rolling and like we'll get right up next to a sharp edge or something. I'm like, oh fuck. So I don't think with a toddler or even like a 1-year-old that can move around, you can do that. But yeah, like for the newborn stage, like you'll be good until like June. And then it's when you're in the heat of basketball season, I don't think you'll be able to draft as many teams.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about some ideas for best ball and content next year to have my cake and eat it too. So once the spring rolls around, maybe I'll think about that. But yes, I will not be ripping as many drafts on the side for sure.
So you're gonna have your little girl on the stream with you. You're like holding her and just doing a stream draft.
No, no. But I'm basically saying my only time to do drafts is probably going to be why I'm streaming.
Good point. Yeah, you're like, oh, sorry, babe. I gotta do some work.
I
Gotta
got to work.
gotta hop on the
Got to go to
stream.
work.
All right. Which fantasy football take would you proudly share on Instagram, Pete? There's a lot of ones that we can dig into. Could be a player take, could be a general thesis. Which one would you be the most proud to share? Much like a Spotify Wrapped.
I mean, I think I feel pretty good like about the strategy videos I made this offseason. Obviously TBD to see how week 17 shakes out and how much that correlation comes into things. But stuff on zero RB macro strategy, we continue to see the top teams at the leaderboard this year have zero RB builds. I also think the targeting undervalued players because of uncertainty stuff, like identifying both the cohorts of rookies who were really undervalued. In my video, highlighted Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker, Rashad White, highlighted Garrett Wilson, who I called the most undervalued player in drafts down the stretch. So, and then on top of that, some of the suspended guys, Nuke Hopkins was a guy that I was heavily targeting. So all of those guys where there was uncertainty, but there was still upside, I feel like those as a cohort have been really big smashes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the rookie take certainly going to be the one that I think would stand out the most. For me, though, I'm going to say being staunchly zero RB, staunchly zero RB is the one take that I feel good about because I still get tweeted from some people who are like, I think in our splash play community, but more like on the casual side. And they're like, oh, how many teams do you have advancing? Like Tyson's one of our regulars or a regular of my content, at least, who like tagged me and was like, oh, how are you doing? I should have listened to you about running backs. And I think we were right. Like, even though it could have been more of like a hero RB thing or an anchor RB, whatever the case may be, that might've been the right move. But there were so many landmines across the board at running back that I think just taking whatever you got at different points of the draft was the right move. So will it be the case next year with QBs probably getting steamed up quite a bit? I don't know. But I think for right now, Pete, I feel like zero RB was the right approach. And even if a zero RB team doesn't win, I think that's because of like the configurations relative to luck and injury and all of that. I think this year it should be still a zero RB team that wins. But I think overall, like a zero RB team should have won this year, even if it doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean, Josh Jacobs too, who I think if you're being completely honest, was literally on the fringe of dead zone and zero RB target where he ended up settling. But if we're just talking running backs taken in the first 5 rounds, I mean, if you were avoiding running backs there, you were doing really well. So yes, I am surprised those Spags. Can you do semicolon and then in all caps directionally accurate on the Seahawks QB situation?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, look, so Gino has been great. Would Drew Lock have been as great, if not even better, with more rushing upside? Hard to say, but yeah, I think I was pretty close on that one.
It is funny. TikTok in the chat saying I had way too much zero RB with late QB. It's funny because for me, I had too much zero RB with elite tight end and elite QB. So I would get some of the QB stuff right, like have lots of Hurts and Kyler zero RB teams, but then way too much Waller specifically has been kind of in Pitts as well. So you really had to thread the needle there if you were trying to hit all of those kind of dominant strategies, which that was another thing I highlighted in that video with Dubner. The elite QB, elite tight end, zero RB was a really powerful strategy, but you needed to nail it just perfectly where you're getting Kelsey or Andrews, you're getting Mahomes, Allen, or Hurts, and to get all those pieces to come together perfectly.
Yeah, as you guys might know if you're following the streams all summer long, I was obsessed with elite tight end stuff. Didn't get enough of the good ones. Got a lot of Pitts, a lot of Waller. Both guys seem Pitts definitely done. Waller, it seems like he might just be done as a Raider overall. But like that was not the right move. But I feel like my best teams right now are all like Komet, Hunter Henry, Hawkinson, Hurst, like cannon fodder tight end plays. So we'll see if we do elite tight end next year. But it was really like get one of the top two guys. And even then, Mark Andrews has been shit. Like I've been playing him in DFS. He's been shit for like 4 weeks in a row now, not including when he was hurt.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, again, though, the way, and this is, Jack Miller had a really good tweet about it the other day as everyone was having the advance rate conversation again, though. And it's like, if you think about this, the season as having these distinct seasons within it too, where it's like everyone who's advancing right now is going to have Josh Jacobs or Travis Kelce, where if you can sneak in a Mark Andrews team, he's probably going to have less high of an advancement rate because of these duds, but he still has the upside to do what he did last season down the stretch where he absolutely exploded. So it's so interesting to think about these players who might not be carrying your high advance rate, but would be total smashes if you could sneak them into the sprint.
You know, it's a game. I know that we're going to get to the last one here. Of course, who would be our headline performer at Fantasy Football Fest? You know, what's going to be tough is that week 17, Travis Kelce plays a Denver team that has their lowest total of the year so far this week that might be calling off the dogs. And Kansas City might not need that game either. Like, it's possible you get a 0 or like 1 drive from Kelce in week 17.
Right. And again, if you have Kelce in week 17, it probably means like 65% of the finalists also have Travis Kelce. So it's probably everyone using their second tight end anyways, and to see who's Gerald Everett's and Cole Kmet's do better that week.
So speaking of, Pete, who would be your headline performer at Fantasy Football Fest? This is like not an not a Spotify one. I feel like it was like instafest.app or whatever, but I saw this a lot. Really enjoyed the concept. So who would be headlining your show for Fantasy Football Fest? And that could be a good play. That could be a play you're ashamed of. Who do you want it to be?
So you want to do a player specifically?
I mean, it could be you could do whatever you want. I mean, obviously this is a creative form, Pete. I don't have a strict structure for you.
All right. I'm going to have the Mike McDaniel jam band. I want Mike McDaniel, lead singer. Actually, 2 is the lead singer. We're going to have Mike McDaniel on the drums. We're going to have Tyreek on lead guitar, Jalen Waddle on bass. And then everyone's going to fucking erupt because Jeff Wilson's going to come out late with the cowbell, bringing down the house. Who would want to watch this?
I think that's a hell of a show. I'll just knock it off at Waddle bass. But no, Jeff Wilson, he's the closer. He's the one you bring in for that long melody at the end. He comes in singing off the stage. Like there's a lot of ways.
Nobody even knew he was on the band. He just was friends with them. They just saw him and said, "Hey, come on stage. Come on stage." He brings down the house with the cowbell.
So here would be my pitch for you, Pete. And I think that's a great one. And honestly, Mike McDaniel, I don't know if you saw some of the clips floating around on like Instagram from the NFL films this week, but like Mike McDaniel, a lot of fun on the sidelines, like roasting Tua for parts, talking about he was like shit in high school and whatever. And like Mike McDaniel seems like a likable guy. That said, I'm going to go for an emotional performance. The Kyle Pitts redemption tour starts on my stage.
I almost tried to come up with a Kyle Pitts one, so I'm glad you're doing this.
Imagine this, the lights go down, one purple spotlight in the middle of the stage, and it's just Kyle Pitts there, no band, no accompaniment. It's just him acoustic with a microphone, giving everything he has, putting all of his heart into the game that he couldn't actually do on the field this year, and really hopefully cleansing himself for 2023 when we can talk ourselves into him all over again.
I imagine him doing dashboard confessional covers up there just by himself.
There's a lot of ways for it to work, but like emotional performance. There we go. All right, Kyle Pitts. God, I'm so bummed that next year we're gonna have to fucking do the Kyle Pitts thing again. Like you have to try again, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, we will all try again next year.
All right. Well, guys, if you're watching now, if you've enjoyed this content, if you're watching live or after the fact, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe to the channel. New videos daily here on Splash Play, and check out some of the stuff that we put out earlier this week. I've been doing some short form stuff, trying to get some data out there. But now it's time, Pete. We're going to steal from the Badge Bros, do what they love to do here, right here on Splash Play. I'm just going to give them credit always for inventing Battle Royale content. It's Battle Royale time, Pete. Lucky week 13. Prize pool coming down a little bit, $25,000, but still live as ever. Of course, use the promo code SPLASH and Underdog to double your deposit up to $100. But have you been jamming Battle Royales? Because I feel like, honestly, when it went from 50K to 25K, I was like, I don't know if this is worth my time. No real reason to believe that, but that's how I felt.
You know what? This is the most battle royales that I've done all year, and it's only
Really?
Friday. I have been ripping these. There's lots of fun angles this week, and I dove in early. I've been doing like 7 or 8 a day the past few days, and so yeah, I'm super excited about this battle royale slate.
Also, FF Doom, I missed this one. And then Arthur Smith pulls the plug on the Kyle Pitts. He does
Of
one
course,
really great performance. The
yeah,
crowd's moving, they're loving it. And Arthur Smith comes in and goes, "Okay, that's enough of that show. Get out of here, Kyle."
of course.
Classic. Kelsey at the 101 here. Is that a good move to you? Do you think?
Yeah, I think he's
Okay.
the 101. I've been like, so one thing I've been doing is I have been building some heavy game stacks, and you sometimes will like, I've been doing some San Francisco, Miami game stacks. And so I'll take Tyreek Hill up top just to start setting that up to get them, because otherwise it can get a little hard to get all the guys you want. But I do think Travis Kelsey's the efficient 101.
I like the idea of the Miami San Francisco game stacks. Like, so on DraftKings, Stochastic, at least earlier in the week, was projecting some ownership for that game. And if it's owned, I wouldn't want to be there. But if it's like under 10% and you could stack that game up, like that game could be live. Like we've seen good passing offenses destroy really good defenses, including the Niners when they went against KC. So like, I think that game could shoot out, but it's just a matter of like, if the ownership's there. If the ownership's there, I don't want to play it.
Yeah, I don't think the ownership will be there just because those guys are expensive. People are going to feel shaky on CMC, Tyreek, super expensive. I don't think people are going to get there. Even I was listening to Leone talk about the Tua projection and how he was like triple checking it because he wasn't projecting as well as he intuitively thought he would. And that more has to do with like the team total and stuff, but it didn't really square with their kind of touchdown rates this season. And so to me, that just speaks to the kind of volatility and upside in this scenario. And I don't think the field's going to be on it.
All right, so we're up here. Q tag Josh Jacobs. I don't like Justin Jefferson very much this week in this matchup.
Really? I
Yeah.
like Jefferson. I
Okay.
also don't mind doing like a Hurts, AJ Brown stack here. You could do a
Ooh.
Mahomes, Jamar Chase. I don't mind. Um,
Well, I'll go Jefferson because he does seem to beat every matchup. I just worry this is one that's going to be really tough for him. But all right, so we got Jefferson. Jacobs, Chase. Do you still want to try Hurts? Because now we're not going to get AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if I take Jefferson, I might just take like Jacobs and then try to backdoor with my last 4 picks some kind of game stack or something, and then just try to nail two of the
Mm.
individual higher scores.
We can get the guy in the thumbnail. I don't know your Garrett Wilson takes. We're going to find out in a little bit here, but
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson to me is like very live this week. I think he's a strong play again.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's incredibly live. I mean, I'm seeing he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, eighth highest ceiling projection for wide receivers on the slate this week.
Yeah, I ended up luck boxing into 70% of him last week, which was like the one thing propping me up. And it wasn't on purpose. It was just like he projected really well. And I like all the lineups I had just kind of naturally had him in there. And this week I worry he's going to be too highly owned, but he could be one of those plays where even at high ownership, like they're going to need to throw against Minnesota a little bit. And like Mike White's actually to get him the ball. So Garrett Wilson, I feel like for tournaments, definitely going to be a risk profile if he's like 20% owned, but I think he's still a strong play until he's like 7K.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, and I should actually pull up the Badge Bros sheet to confirm this. I assume the Jefferson Garrett Wilson mini correlation is going to be extremely popular in battle royales.
How about the Jefferson Zonovan Knight correlation?
Probably not near as popular.
I like. Did you watch Zonovan Knight highlights at all? Because like he legit looked very good. Like he looked like a man who was running with a lot of anger behind his past.
He had fucking 9 evaded tackles in that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I watched a lot because I had Michael Carter and I was like watching the game, hoping like, please, Michael Carter, come back in, please. And then instead I'm just watching Zonovan Knight look like young LaDainian Tomlinson shedding tackles left and right and breaking everything. And he looked really good in a way that I don't think I heard the name Zonovan Knight once in the draft combine stuff and the pre-draft prep. And then he gets out in the field and he looks like one of the best backs in the league.
There's not how many over with 165 data sample, and shout out to Chad in the Badge Bros Discord, but the combinatorial ownership on Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson, 12.7% of drafts with both players taken. So maybe not as heavily owned as I thought.
Okay. Well, we could take a Bengals stack here if we wanted
Do you
to.
want to do
Higgins and Burrow.
I like Higgins Burrow.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And then you can either grab a Pacheco or Juju. late if you want, or you could just onslaught it with a Hurst or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Hurst. Did you see the headline about so like Eric Reed, the chief safety, called out Hayden Hurst, but meant to call out
Yeah.
somebody else? And then Hayden
And
Hurst, like, out of all the guys in this team, I'm not the one you want to call out.
yeah, it's like, no offense, Hayden, but you're probably, if I had to call out one player on the Bengals, you'd probably be right there after Evan McPherson. I'm sorry, Hayden.
I feel like Hayden Hurst's like a hunting guy, and like, I don't know,
Oh,
man.
you think
Yeah,
he's gonna show up with a crossbow?
potentially, like I don't know, those Southern country boy types, like I don't know, like I don't want to get on the wrong side there, but it's just funny that Eric Reed's like trying to call out T Higgins and calls out Tyler Higbee for like, what are you doing, man? If you're gonna trash talk, at least know the guy you're gonna talk shit about.
I love it.
Watch, will say he only has camo shorts. He honestly does seem like that kind of guy, like the kind of guy you don't want to run into in a Southern gas station.
Have you seen the Liver King guy on TikTok?
I have. And did you see he's fucking spending 20 grand a month on steroids?
And did he say he spends like how much did he said he spent on bottled water? Yeah, I mean this guy's out of control. Did you see what he made for Thanksgiving with his private chef?
I did
It was like
not.
a Russian nesting doll of like it was like a goat stuffed in a turkey, stuffed in a duck. This guy's
Everybody
ridiculous.
in like content became a gimmick so fast. And I don't know how this happened, but like this is the world we live in. And I'm not a Liver King fan, but boy, like honestly, if I could do 20 grand in roids and look like that, I wouldn't be the maddest in the world.
Well, there you go, Spags. It's a long off season.
All right. What else do we got here? We got Walker, Freermuth, Watson, Jackson, Debo.
Yeah, I'm like more pro correlating here. Like I'd
Go
rather
Juju.
bring Juju on a bring back here. Although
All right.
that boxes us out of Garrett Wilson, who might have already gone.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we need that. Like Jefferson could have his ceiling without Wilson coming along. And then Hurst too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm with that. All right. So Burrow, Jacobs, Jefferson, Higgins, Juju, and Hayden Hurst. So we're stacking one of the most popular games, getting a little bit different, taking a ceiling from Justin Jefferson. Josh, this is a really good team. Like I have no issue with this team.
Yeah, it's a fun team. I think it's very solid. You get the 30 burgers from Jacobs and Jefferson, and then you get that KC Cincinnati game shooting out. You're probably in pretty good shape.
All right, now we're ready. It's ride or die time, guys. So please, if you're ever going to pay attention to anything here, whatever the video title I change this to, maybe huge mistakes not to make in week 13. I don't know. That got some good clicks last week. But these are the plays that are going to be the mistakes you want to avoid this week. Potentially like not playing them, I guess would be the way to look at that. Or based on what Pete did last week, don't follow his takes at all because Pete gave you a 0 last week. Dad brain on the horizon. All of your picks went wrong. Pete, you care to comment here about the 0 burger?
I actually would.
Okay, well, let me go solo camera. Okay.
Actually, you know what? It was an abbreviated week last week for a lot of us. We were, hungover from Thanksgiving. Some sites that we maybe rely on for projections at that time on a Friday morning weren't necessarily ready with those projections. And at the end of the day, I have to be accountable for my own ride or die picks, but that doesn't mean we can not throw a few people under the bus as we go. And so I just want to say I'm back in the saddle this week, and I will make up all the ground that I lost over Thanksgiving.
Very brave of you to take that ownership, Pete. Very proud of you to see that one. Of course, I got a few right here, as I always do. Garrett Wilson, the Millie Maker winning lineup. Brian Robinson outscores Antonio Gibson by 6+ DK points. Mark Andrews makes the Millie Maker winning lineup despite doing absolutely nothing. So that's 3 for me on the year now. The record, I have 34 and 120. Pete, I'm up 100 points on you, and you're going to fucking have a baby. You can't beat me.
No, I can. I will beat you this week.
I hope you do. I hope you do for your sake. But oh boy. Oh wait, I didn't pull the fucking thing back up here. Hold on. Let me.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to propose a change.
Okay.
I think we each, obviously it has to be negotiated. Obviously it has to be fair. I say one of our picks this week has to be a 100 pointer.
No, you can't get it all back.
Yeah.
It's a rocket job.
No, it'll be something that has a sub 1% chance of happening.
But you're going to fucking negotiate me down into something that's got a 50-50 shot. And I'll be like,
no. The chat will keep us accountable.
All right.
Also,
fine.
I got to give you credit. You, and now I'm going to derail us, but I'm glad that you kept talking while I did the coffee pour. You didn't let it derail the show. So you're improving as a host.
Oh, thank you. It only took, 3 years? Finally going to get there. But let's go, guys. Ride or die picks. Pete explains people to ride or die picks, including this new 100-point wrinkle to help Pete catch up.
Yes. So every week we go through the games. I make these really ballsy picks. Spags wraps on a condom and, inches away from me while I try to provide entertainment. Spags tries to eke out a little EV in this game that is ultimately meaningless with zero stakes. But that all changes this week as we introduce the week 13 100 pointer. Normally 1, 3, 10 points are all that are attainable. But this week in one game, like finding the daily double in Jeopardy, a 100 pointer will be revealed and negotiated. And could it alter the entire landscape of this game for the rest of the year? Yes, it could.
We'll find out, but let's start it off with Denver, 15.5 implied points, which actually come up a half point for them. So good. Baltimore, 24 implied points. Ugly one. Feels like this is setting the table, Pete, for the Broncos, phoning it in for the year. But what do you want as a ride or die pick in this potential dumpster fire of a game?
Yeah, it is a very dumpster fire. I'm going to just start off with a classic one. I'm seeing Mark Andrews at extremely low ownership. I don't want to force anything with him and Lamar, but I am going to say Mark Andrews winning Millie Maker lineup this week at sub 5%. Was that what you were going to do?
No, I just if he fucking goes off this week, I've been playing him in every matchup. They've all been plus matchups and he keeps getting 10 to 15 points. If he goes for 30 against a bad matchup where the Broncos are actually a good defense, I'm just going to be very upset, but I think it's a good pick. I think it's a good pick.
The chat saying Russell Wilson in the Millie Maker lineup for 100 points.
Ooh, that is it's just so low of a total. Like I don't even know you could take any shots at this point.
No, but that's not even 100 pointer because there's more than a 1% chance of that happening. I think.
Is it really? Hard to say. I will say that Cortland Sutton catches a touchdown of 50 plus yards. Is that a 10 pointer?
Yeah.
Okay. It hasn't happened this year. So at some point,
yeah. No, I mean, I know the Ravens secondary isn't that great, but just the Broncos scoring a touchdown in itself is probably a 3-pointer. So yeah, I'll give you a 10-pointer on that.
Okay. Pittsburgh, 21.5 implied points. Atlanta, 20.5 implied points. I will go first for this one and say, I think a Pittsburgh double, Pete, scores more than 60 fantasy points, but I won't identify who.
A Pittsburgh double. So it has to be a pass catcher, though. Doesn't get to include the running backs.
I mean, if you're making that rule, I feel like it would still be a pretty lofty game.
I think the spirit of it is Kenny Pickett with any two pass catchers combines for 60 points. Is that what you're going for?
I'll allow that if that's a 10-pointer. Okay. What do you want?
I'll say this. If that happens, they're probably in the winning Millie Maker lineup anyways at their prices. So I guess I'll give you that.
I don't know. Maybe not. Cause that might not be a high enough ceiling if they both put up 20, like if it's Pickett 22 and then two guys putting up 19, that might not be enough to get there.
Yeah. I will say, how can I leverage this? I kind of want to do something with Jaylen Warren. How about this? Give me, how many points does Jaylen Warren need to clear for me to get 10 points?
He's got projected for 5.2 right now, assuming that Najee is in. If Najee's out, obviously he's going to go up quite a bit. Are we assuming that Najee's out?
I think Najee's going to be out.
Okay. So then I feel like Warren's got to at least get to 20 then.
All right. If Najee is in, I need a caveat here.
Really trying to get these points before you got to go on a leave, huh?
All right. If Najee's out, Jaylen Warren over 20. If Najee is in, Jaylen Warren over 10.
Over 14 if Najee's in.
All right.
Okay, done. All right, so Green Bay. No, oh boy. Aaron Rodgers apparently going to go for this one, even though why. But 24 implied points for Green Bay, 20.5 implied points for Chicago. Justin Fields, I guess, is going to play. I don't really know why, but it seems like he's going to play.
Yes, it sounds like he is going to be fine. He was on Twitter last night complaining about his Uber Eats delivery, so I assume he's just ready to go.
That's how you can tell a guy's really ready to get in the game. All right, so I'm gonna go first here. I will say, fucking Aaron Rodgers throws for 3 touchdowns. Is that a 10-pointer?
Aaron Rodgers throws for 3. No, that's more like that's like a classic 5 or 6 pointers, which don't exist in this game.
4 touchdowns is 10 then?
Sure.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers throws for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. How about this? What is the spread in projection you have between Aaron Jones and David Montgomery?
Aaron Jones, 17.2. David Montgomery, 19.8.
All right. So if Aaron Jones outscores David Montgomery by 8, that's a 10-pointer.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Boom!
Do you not like Montgomery chalk this week? I feel like it's a nice spot for him on paper, at least.
You could have stopped at, you don't like David Montgomery?
Well, get him in DFS now because you didn't get him in best ball, but he's coming up
I did play him in DFS the week against the Falcons.
Yeah. I mean, he paid off.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right. Jets, 20.8 implied points. Minnesota, 23.8 implied points. What do you want in this one, Pete? Mike White starting once again. I got to point out, Mike White was literally perfect last week in every stat, which I thought was interesting, like a 96.4% adjusted completion rate, perfect QB rating on deep throws. Not going to happen this week. So if you're really following that for Mike White, don't do that. Anyway, Pete, what do you want?
Wait, why is it not going to happen?
He just can't be perfect again. Like, he could be good, but he's not going to have literally a perfect game again.
All right, folks, it's time for a 100-pointer. Spags, if Mike White throws for 400 yards, do I get 100 points?
400 yards and some amount of touchdowns. It's got to be
400 passing. Oh, okay, I'll do 400 passing yards and 3 TDs. 400 yards is an ungodly amount of passing yards.
Is it really 1% though? But
Mahomes has like barely been clearing like 330 this year.
I'll give it to you. It's a good game script. It's
400 yards, 3 TDs for Mike White.
Okay. I think that's Josh saying he has to beat his record. What was Mike White threw for 400 that one game, right?
What game was that?
Like when he was starting that other stretch?
All right. I'll give it. Let me see what his record was.
I'll still give it to you because 400 is an outlandish claim, but like, I think he literally did it.
He threw for 315 yards last week. Okay, last year he had 405 against the Bengals. So I'll do over 405. He had 3 TDs that game. So we'll do I want it to be a true 100-pointer. I'll say over 404 TDs. That's a 100-pointer.
Okay. No, that is
I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to boost the touchdown to make this a true 100-pointer.
Classic Pete just trying to get us guys ceiling projection. Mike White's ceiling 405, 3 touchdowns. All right.
I don't think that. Come on. I mean, this is a true 100-pointer.
What if? Okay, so Minnesota's total is 23.8 right now. If Minnesota scores under 13.8, that's a 10-pointer, right?
You're doing their implied team total?
Yeah.
What did you say that you have it under 13.8? Okay, so if they score less than 2 touchdowns or less than 14 points.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you 10 for that.
Also, GA asking, if you believe this, are you playing white doubles this week in DFS?
I'm hoping that I'll be in a hospital and not even having to look at projections and can just fire off a dog shit lineup without any of the research. So I haven't gotten that far yet.
It's going to be funny though if you do have the baby like on Sunday and it's like, oh shit, Mike White doubles got there. He threw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Why do you think I'm trying to win the Battle Royale this week? So I can say this was the best day of my life, and then I post a screenshot of winning the Battle Royale, and then I thread it with my newborn child.
The meta game of bits is really too strong with you as always. Jacksonville, 25 implied points. Detroit, 26 implied points. Very popular DFS game here, Pete. I guess I have to go first in this one. Okay. Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence combine for 800 passing yards and 750 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. Is that a 100-pointer?
No, not even close. I was debating whether to give you that to you as a 10-pointer.
But Jared Goff, who likes Jared Goff?
You just did 375 and 3 for each of those quarterbacks in the best game environment of the week.
Okay, 808. 800 yards, 8 touchdowns between the two of them.
800. So you're doing the Mike White, but doubled.
Yes.
There. Okay. Yes. 100-pointer for 808.
Okay. I don't think it's going to happen, but boy, it's a high team total for this game, Pete.
Well, no shit. We don't think it's going to happen. It's 100-pointer, Spags.
Higher than 1% probability, perhaps.
Jesus. What's the over-under on this game right now? 51?
Yeah, 51.
I'm going to leverage against yours. Under 41.
Okay, that's fair. That's a 10-pointer, classic 10-pointer.
Yeah.
It actually has come down a point during the course of the week, so it seems like the markets are not supporting this game being that high scoring. Oh well. Well, that's why it's a 100-pointer for me. Tennessee, 19.8 implied points. Philadelphia, 24.3 implied points. Pete, you're due to go first. What do you want, Tennessee and Philly?
Everyone is going to be excited about this AJ Brown revenge game. Look, I'm excited about it too. But Devonta Smith is going to ruin it all. Devonta Smith clears. I see his projection at 15.2 over. I'll say Devonta Smith over 25.2 DK points.
Okay, that seems fair to me. I will go then on the other side. So how about a parlay for a 10-pointer? Tennessee wins outright. Derrick Henry, 100 yards and a touchdown.
I think those are very correlated things, but they are 4.5-point road underdogs. Sure. I'll give you that. I think it's probably like a 8-pointer, but I'll fucking round up for you because I'm about to become a father and I'm feeling sentimental.
Oh, that's good. That's the kind of generous spirit you need as a dad, I think. One could say. Washington, 21 implied points. Giants, 19 implied points. Boy, not much to love in this one, but I guess I will go first and say Terry McLaurin, 150 yards and a touchdown. Is that a 10-pointer?
No.
I think it would be. His projection's 13.6.
Then we're gonna do. I see 14.8. You can do.
Because I'll just take I'll take a 25 over 25.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
Done.
Fine.
What do you want?
I said fine. All right. This game sucks so much.
It does.
I want to. What do we want to do? Brian Robinson's going to end up being popular if Antonio Gibson is limited or doesn't play. Is this where I get even on Darius Slayton? I'm going to be losing this stupid bet to Pat because Wan'Dale Robinson got hurt. I'll say, can I get 10 points? Darius Slayton outscores Barkley.
He has to outscore him by 1.5, it looks like.
Deal.
Okay, done. Barkley stinks this year. Like, I know people like Barkley, but he really hasn't been that good in any sort of advanced stats.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that out
there.
Daboll
was supposed to save us. He was supposed to take us to the promised land. We were really jerking him off early.
It was just like a lot of lucky wins. It's a lot of like those, one score wins, which are not that, not that sticky. I think they're the worst team in the NFC East, and we'll find out, I guess, on Sunday, because if they lose to Washington, they are literally the worst team in the NFC East.
Yeah.
Cleveland, 27.3 implied points. Houston, 20.3 implied points. The Deshaun Watson revenge game that nobody wants to get joy out of, except weirdly the Browns locker room, who loves Deshaun and thinks he's like a great dude. Nick Chubb was like, yeah, I'm so excited for Deshaun to get his. I don't know. Hard to talk positively about this one, Pete, but what do you want?
I will. Can I get 10 points if Nick Chubb outscores the two highest scoring Houston Texans that can include the quarterback?
No way. If Kyle Allen is starting, he might put up under 10.
How about outscores the two highest by 5 points?
Just for the Texans? The Texans are bad. Like, they might not score.
What's your projection on Kyle Allen?
Kyle Allen, I got to look it up because I don't have him on the sheet right now.
Wow.
Kyle Allen is 15.4. That seems lofty.
That's exactly what ETR has it at. So there you go. And what do you have Nico or Brandon Cooks at?
Nico is at 10.3. Cooks is at 11.6.
What do you have Dameon Pierce at?
16.7. I don't buy any of these projections, if I'm being honest.
So that'd be 32 for Damian Pierce and Kyle Allen. Nick Chubb, I see at 19. That is a 10-pointer if he outscores the top. And I'm giving you the top two. I'm not even penciling in.
Oof. I don't agree with these projections at all, if I'm being honest. But okay, no, it's fine. I'll give you the 10-pointer. But I don't get it.
It's a 10-pointer by the spirit of the law.
I guess I'll go Damian Pierce outscores Nick Chubb. But that's something because that's like he's higher projected. How is he higher projected?
Damian Pierce outscores Nick Chubb by 5 is what you need for a 10-pointer.
Okay. Ugh. I don't know that I believe that, but I'll do it. That's the only way Houston stays in the game is if Pierce like breaks some runs. Like I don't.
Yeah, no shit.
Otherwise, Cleveland should win by 4 touchdowns.
Okay, you want to do that one?
Is that a 10-pointer if Cleveland wins by 4 touchdowns?
Yes.
Okay.
If they win by 28, of course.
Okay. I just don't get how this is a 7-point spread. Like, I think Watson's going to feed Cooper and Chubb's going to break a bunch of runs and Houston will do fucking nothing because that's what they've been doing every week.
Go mortgage your house on Texans +7.
Well, no, that's a bad bet still. But okay, I'll take Cleveland wins by 28. That's fine. Seattle, 23.8 implied points. The Rams, now Aaron Donald out, 16.8 implied points. So the defense really has nothing left here. I guess I go first in this one. Tyler Lockett Millie Maker winning lineup.
All right. Seems fine. Top 5 highest scoring players from this game are Seattle Seahawks.
No, it's got to be 6.
Okay, I'll do 6, but it includes the defense.
Okay, that's fine. God, what a fucking ugly game. Miami, 21.5 implied points. San Francisco, 25 implied points. Looks like the ownership has come down for this game a little bit. Nobody projected for over 10% ownership. But Pete, what do you want?
Yeah, I want, so I see the total at 46.5. Give me this game over 56.5 points.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I will say then oh boy. I already made a Millie Maker winning pick, but Tua Tyreek winning Millie Maker winning lineup. That's stack.
All right. I mean, it's correlated with mine.
Okay.
Not trying to leverage me.
No, I don't want to leverage against you. I just want to be right along, holding hands with you, Pete, in these precious times in your life.
Don't dupe me, bro.
Chargers, 24.8 implied points. Vegas, 25.8 implied points. I think I'm due to go first here, and I will say Keenan Allen. I see a 14.1 projection for him. I will say Keenan Allen over 25 fantasy points.
Keenan Allen over 26. I see his projection at 16.3.
Okay, fine. Keenan Allen over 26, 10 points.
Let's say I will say Devontae Adams outscores the 2 highest scoring wide receivers on Chargers combined.
Oh, combined? Okay. Yeah, it's a 10
combined.
Okay.
All right. So likely Keenan Allen and Josh Palmer, but could be any combo of pass catchers.
All right, last game on the main slate. Some could say the main event, rematch of the AFC playoffs last year. Kansas City, 27.5 implied points. Cincinnati, 25.5 implied points. This line has moved quite a bit over the course of the week, now up to a 53-point over-under, up 1.5 since Monday. Pete, what do you want in this game?
All right. This is I'm accounting for uncertainty with Jerick McKinnon, who's missed practice 2 days in a row with this hamstring. I want to say for 10 points, a non-Isaiah Pacheco KC running back outscores Joe Mixon.
So Rojo?
I mean, it could be Rojo, it could be Melvin Gordon. It could be McKinnon if McKinnon plays.
Okay. I'll give it to you. I will go then. This is tough. Joe Burrow throws for 5 touchdowns. Is that a 10-pointer?
Yes.
Okay. Done. Easy. Sunday Night Football. Now the most exciting game of the week potentially, and then the shittiest game of the week potentially on Sunday Night Football. Indianapolis, 17 implied points. Dallas, a 10.5-point favorite. 27.5 implied points. Pete, give me a showdown winning captain.
I'm going to take Dak Prescott.
Okay. I like that. I will leverage / correlate CeeDee Lamb showdown winning captain.
There you go.
Oh, there
Trust the
Willis
process.
wants
Fake
Zeke.
alpha, CD Lamb. Zeke,
No,
get
Zeke.
out of here, Willis.
All right, there we go, guys. Of course, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button before you go. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow at Peter Overzet as well. And follow this show at Splash Play Pod. Pete, any final words for you? Or I guess any plugs? Because you're probably going to get one more stream in this afternoon, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go do Sirius XM right now. And then JM and I are going to do the week 13 GPP preview on my channel. And then, yeah.
We'll see. Then you might not see Pete for a while. Might not see Pete till 2023.
I mean, let's relax. Let's relax a little bit. You're not getting
You'll
rid
see
of me
Pete
that
in
early.
the best ball lobbies and the battle royale lobbies, nowhere else.
Dude, we did one of the wild card drafts on ship chasing last night, and I want to start blasting off on those. Those are very fun.
Oh yeah, great timing to want to draft. Start blasting off on some drafts. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out here. We'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your weekends and good luck.